topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Good afternoon, Los Angeles. Welcome to another Ask the Experts show where we bring you the top experts in the areas of home improvement, financial, legal, and health. We've got two powerful shows today. We're going to start off with home improvement. We're going to be talking about mold today, and then after that, we're going to be talking about how to stop snoring. How can you have two shows that are completely opposite of each other? But we're really excited. We got some great reports back that people are doing okay in the Southern California area. We're in Florida, so we know all about hurricanes. And I'm just glad that everybody is okay. And, you know, you have to really look at all the warnings out there, alerts. That's some of the problems we still have here in Florida. We've had so many close calls that people were just not going to get hit. And that's when you get hit. But anyhow, we're here with the Ask the Experts show, and we're going to talk about mold today. And gosh, if you own a home or you own a business, you know, we don't want you getting mold. And so we're going to talk about mold today. And we have got probably the best expert when it comes to mold. The name of the company is called, and I love this name, Mold Zero. We've got Raymond Almania with us today. And Raymond, good afternoon, bud.
Good afternoon, Steve. Good to be here with you again.
Yeah, I'm glad. I was a little worried when I was seeing the reports out there. I was going to say, I hope we have our show this week, but we're here. I got to tell you, we got a letter from one of your customers who found the show by accident. You did some work for him a couple of years ago, and he just said that you did an incredible job, that we've got the best expert, which we already knew. And he really spoke about how knowledgeable you are. So we really know we have the best of the best. But tell people about Mold Zero. How long you've been around for? What made you decide to get in the business?
Well, we started off in Florida, and that's very nice to hear from that our
yes.
client. It was great. It's great that they reached out to you, and it's great that they said that. So it's one thing to note that all our guys on our team, we very much care about mold issues. We really do. And that stems from my partner's wife was sick with mold originally, over 10 years ago.
Oh.
And that's how we started on this. So we're here to make money like anybody else, but we started off as a passionate business. We really care about mold because she had strong adversity to chemicals and stuff. So other efforts to resolve her mold issues, they stopped before it got started because she couldn't deal with the chemicals. So the good thing about our process, because it's heritage, as I mentioned earlier, another time, it comes from hospitals. So It had to be non-toxic and it had to be FDA, EPA certified. So that's how we started over 10 years ago. My partner's wife got sick with mold, and after it resolved her situation, a couple months later, she said, let's invest in that. And then Rusty, my partner, called me and said, hey, why don't you partner up with me? Which I always say this. I said, no, but here I am. So that's how we started. And we have a different protocol, a uniquely different protocol than conventional or traditional mold companies. And this by no means am I trying to throw my competitors or other mold companies under the bus. This is just a new protocol. But the problem with mold is mold spores are only 20 to 30 microns, which is invisible. You can't see 20 to 30 microns. And the second thing is mold is doing nature's work. It's outside everyone's house. It's eating, procreating, and spreading. Eating, procreating, and spreading. It's setting up for nature's next sequence of events that occur. So, of course, it's going to do the exact same thing when it gets inside anyone's house, anyone's apartment, anyone's office, anyone's home. It's going to eat, procreate, and spread. So a conventional traditional mold company, they will usually just try to cut it out in an area where they feel the mold is. Well, number one, mold's pretty much invisible. So where they see it might not be the only place it could be, number one. Number two, if mold spreads as fast as you can smell bacon, the odds of them getting all the mold out initially is not good. So I won't say every time, but many times, 2 months, 5 months later, that client says, hey, the mold came back, and it didn't come back. It just never fully left, right? So instead of us trying to remove the mold, we kill the mold in the environment. We use a dual dry fogging protocol whose heritage comes from hospitals. So that's how we started. That's why we're uniquely different. So,
Raymond, can you smell mold?
The thing with smell is such an arbitrary thing, isn't it? I really, it's different than sight or hearing, right? In that I don't really know what you're smelling and you don't know what I'm smelling, right? So when people say I smell something, my inspectors are instructed to say, I smell something, but I don't know what you're smelling, because it could be, a laundry list of things. It could be a dead animal, for God's sakes, So smelling mold, yes, mold does can have a smell, a certain smell to it. But really the best way to detect mold is to take samples and give it to a third-party lab, because mold is so invisible and spreads so quickly. It's good to take samples, because that way you have a scientific proof that mold is there or mold is not there, right? So that's the best thing to do, because we don't want to, I don't want my inspectors to say, hey, there's mold because I smell something. That's just too arbitrary, right? It's better to take samples.
What part of, I own a house. What part of the house am I most likely to see mold?
Well, mold, I do want to, before I answer that question, not to scare everyone, but mold comes in and out of everyone's structure 24/7. It comes in and out. That does not mean it colonizes. Now, when it colonizes, that's a problem, right? But mold comes in and out of everyone's structure 24/7. Now, whether it colonizes or not is a different story. But what makes mold colonize are some pretty common elements. It has to have a food source. And unfortunately, everything's a food source. Walls, wood, carpet. I mean, even pet hair and dead skin are food sources for mold. The second thing is oxygen, and there's plenty of air, of course. And the third thing is moisture. So when those three things come together, but at the right humidity, the right temperature, right humidity, mold is going to grow. It doesn't make any difference how clean or how dirty your area is, or how new or how old your structure is. Mold is going to grow if it's at the right humidity and there's a food source, there's enough oxygen and air, and moisture. So that's why most mold companies, including us, we have moisture meters, because that's kind of a red flag to detect. It's a good possibility there could be mold growing. And
So
you're
if
asking me
you're
where to look.
close to the
Well, you
water,
want to look. You want to look where there's moisture: bathrooms, kitchens,
right.
showers, where there might be leaks. Crawl spaces where there's impacting water from a water table or sprinklers, right? But a lot of times the common areas are there's a roof leak or there's a pipe leak of some kind, and it goes undetected. So, not that we don't want people's business, but whenever you have a leak, try to resolve it right away. Don't let it hang out for 48 hours or more, because it gives you have a higher percentage of mold starting to colonize at that point, right? So try to address that and resolve it right away, right? So that way you won't have a mold issue. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, and it does. What about humidity?
Yeah, that's part of it too. So when you have those ingredients at the right temperature, right humidity, mold's going to grow. So the three things that we look for, that my inspectors that we all look for before we start our protocol, our 3-step protocol of resolving mold, our remediation process, there's preps. There's 3 steps to our preps. Number 1, all water intrusions must be discovered and finitely resolved. So when I say water intrusion, it doesn't matter if it's a roof leak, a pipe leak, a bathroom, whatever is a water intrusion of some kind, sprinkler breaking, something, that has to be finitely resolved. And the reason I say finitely, a lot of times construction people or handymen come in and they just kind of band-aid it. You don't want to like duct tape this stuff. You want to make sure it's gone, because I don't want to be back there in 6 months, right? And you don't want me back there in 6 months. So make sure that all water intrusions are finitely resolved. Number 2, all areas must be dry. Now, they don't need to be 0% moisture, but they can't be like 60, 70, 80% moisture level. It's just too high, Now, you're talking about humidity. So we do the beach areas all the time. We're in Southern California. So we're out in Orange County. We're over in the Bay Area. We're down the beach, Manhattan Beach, Palos Verdes. And there's a lot of humidity there, right? So a lot of times people,
Yes,
right, they have a dresser, against the wall, and there's so much humidity in that area. They pull back that dresser and they don't realize it, but they pull back this dresser, and now there's this visible mold. That mold could have been there 2 months, could have been there longer. We don't know. The point is that number 1, all water intrusions must be resolved. Number 2, all areas must be dry. So you want to make sure that it's not creating this humidity, like you say, or condensation, because that goes into the third item we look for. The third thing is there must be adequate ventilation in the area. So I always tell people, and I ask them, when you take a shower and you have that condensation and fogging on your mirror in the bathroom, they go, yes. Do you ever have that any other windows in your house? And they go, some of them say, yeah, in my living room, I get it there all the time. Well, that's a red flag. That condensation that's moisture, isn't it? So, and you're mentioning, Steve, condensation or humidity, is that a problem? Yes, it can be, because if it continues long enough, that's one of the ingredients. Moisture, a food source, oxygen at the right humidity, right temperature, mold's going to grow. Because again, mold floats in and out of everyone's structure 24/7. In order for it to colonize, all it needs is those elements I mentioned earlier. And it's going to colonize. Once it starts to colonize, there's so many different species. They will create these things called mold factories. And every time they eat, procreate, they're spreading, eating, procreating, spreading. Because that's all they're trying to do, is survive. And that's what creates the problems for us, because every time they eat and procreate, we call it burping and farting. They emit mycotoxins, and those randomly float in the air. That's what creates specifically the adversities in human bodies and mammals and pets. So a little bit long-winded explanation, but I hope that made
No,
hope
that's
that makes
good. How dangerous is mold?
I've seen the dark side of mold. It can be very, very dangerous, as bad as you can imagine. And yes, I've seen that occur, unfortunately, at coming too late on a project. So yes, mold can be that bad. So keep in mind, we're all affected by mold, but they found out about 12 years ago that about 20 to 25% of us, though, of people, of their DNA, 25% of people's DNA are very adversely affected to mold. We're
Oh my
all on
God.
that spectrum, but 25% of us, it's bad news. Bad news. Now, also keep in mind, it's not just that 25%, because again, we're all on that spectrum. It also has to do with how successful or unsuccessful one's immune system has been in defending itself against mold in their history. So, as a child, as a young adult, as an elderly person, if your body was trying to defend itself against mold and it was unsuccessful, the next time it happens, it's that much weaker. So keep in mind, it has to do with that too, because I've been in 6-member families where you would think that everybody would be uniformly the same. But in a 6-member family, I recall 2 of them were hospital sick. The next 2 had brain fog and respiratory problems. And the last 2 were maybe itchy and coughing a little bit. And although you would think they're
Wow.
all the same family, it really depends on not just the DNA. It depends also on how successful or unsuccessful the immune system has been in defending itself.
Well, here's a text we just got in. Oh, it's a good text too. This is George Gonzalez. Uh, he said, I hired somebody to do work on my roof from your show that did an excellent job. And I have been worried about possibility of mold. I live in the Los Angeles area 6 months out of the year, and I live in Las Vegas 6 months out of the year. Should I make the appointment now, or should I wait till I get back in town?
Depending on what your situation is, if you're just doing it for trying to do a research to find out what your current status is, you can do it anytime. If you have a situation that's occurring right now, address it right away. You don't want to delay it. So depending on Mr. Gonzalez's situation, you probably want to take a lab samples to go to a third-party lab to find out, exactly if you have a mold situation or not, right? So it's about science at that point, because we'll take samples of the area. This is before we fog or anything, and see what the status is of his edifice, what his house is, the structure is. So he can do it now, he can do it later, depending on the urgency of what his needs are. If no one's sick, or you know what I mean. I don't know what his situation is, but if he lives there half of the year, then yeah, just see what the condition is. It's a good idea. I personally think anybody who's in the real estate, anybody who's purchasing a home, anybody who's moving in, you're looking for safe shelter. Mold is a problem, or can be a problem for many people. It's a real good idea to check out what the existing status is of where you're going to live.
Yeah, really. What about, is mold and fungus the same?
Yeah, mold is a type of fungus, right? So,
Okay.
this process, it kills spores. So I mentioned that it's a dry fog protocol that comes from hospitals, because dry fog's been around for a long time. But if it doesn't come from hospitals, it's not the same thing. So what this protocol specifically does, it kills spores, not just mold spores, not just fungus, but it kills bacteria spores, it kills fungus spores, it kills virus spores. It does kill that stuff. So that's what it was made to do, because remember, it was originally for hospitals, and so it needed to kill
Right.
all that stuff, right? So it's pretty much the same stuff. So I'm telling you that it does kill that. That's what it was invented for. It was created to 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 resolve the problems in surgery rooms because they had quick turnovers and they had to have, a cleaner area. So it does. It's a sporicide, to be, more exact about it. Not just specifically mold,
Now,
but all spores.
how do they reach you, Raymond?
So our number is 626-671-8885. And I'll repeat that again. If it's busy or you get another, just hang on, just keep trying calling. We're under a dozen operation in the office, so but we're all trying to take calls. We try to get to all of them. But once again, it's 626-671-8885. You'll probably reach Christine, and she'll take good care of you. She'll find out what your situation is, and she'll set you up for.
Yeah, you want to get a hold of Christine.
Yeah,
you want to reach her. She
Yeah.
is on the ball.
Yeah, she is.
So now, you cover certain areas of Los Angeles?
Yeah, we're throughout Southern California. We're one of the first. This protocol is throughout the United States, and we're one of the first ones to start. There's quite a few. There's 7 of us now in California, from Northern California to San Diego, but we're throughout the United States. This specific dry fog protocol, but we do most of Southern California. We don't go to San Diego. We don't go to Santa Barbara, but we do, the West Side, Santa Monica, that whole area, Malibu. Down south, we'd go into Orange County, and we also go into the Valley, Sherman Oaks, Encino. Then inland, we go, to Monterey Park, Montebello, East Los Angeles.
We just had someone ask if you go into Newport Beach.
We go to Newport Beach. We're in Orange County.
Okay.
We're in Orange County quite a bit, actually.
Wow. Hey, I am so glad that we got you. I mean, this is an area that you specialize in. A lot of the people in your business, they do water damage, they do smoke, and they do 10 different things. You really concentrate on mold, which is so important.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. It's, we're finding out more and more that mold creates so many problems in, our bodies, everyday lives. That's why you see a lot of doctors, a lot of DOs, doctors of osteopathy, they become specialists in mold. Years ago, there's a lot of guys who are freelancing and maybe they weren't having a medical background and they would try to specialize in mold. Well, as these doctors start coming up through college and getting all their degrees, a lot of them find a lot of interest or finding out that mold crosses over so many different problems in the body, right? And they become specialists. A lot of DOs, because DOs, they focus on the body, right? So we're one of the few companies that DOs who are specializing in mold doctors, they will specifically recommend their patients before they start their own protocol to resolve their mold issues in the patient's body. They say, look, your environment needs to be clean. Don't call any mold company. Don't call just the guys who are trying to remove the mold. Get the guys who do the fogging, because they know that we're going to resolve that issue for them before they start the protocol, because they don't want to go in circles with that patient of having them get rid of the mold out of their bodies and it comes back again, right? So the curious thing about that is a lot of these doctors, we don't solicit them. They have done their research and they have found us, right? So they have found this protocol. They have done their tests. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story. There's this doctor in Beverly Hills off La Cienega. He's a gynecologist, but he specializes in fertilization, right? So he has all these eggs.
Yes.
And he just wanted us to fog in there because he wanted to make sure it's clean. I was nervous about it because, that's a lawsuit ready to happen. People have all their eggs. Right? Do I want a fog in there? He told me, he goes, I've done more research than you know. He goes, and we've been there several times to fog his place because he wanted to make sure it was free of mold, right? So there's just a lot of stories from a lot of medical professions who say this is the way to go. And I got to tell you, at the same time, I have other people, other companies say, oh, no, this doesn't work and all this stuff. And I don't try to make them wrong. I don't try to argue with them, but I just try to give them facts. Don't ask me. Ask why other doctors, mold specialists, DOs, gynecologists are finding out about us and recommending our services to their patients. So, and this is not to say that their process is the wrong way to go. I'm just telling you what we do and why we're pretty proud of what we do. So, yeah.
Well, Raymond, 25 minutes goes by really fast. Let's give everybody the number one more time, and Raymond's going to be with us every month. So, and then if you've missed the show today, you can actually go to iHeart and go to Mold, and take show will come up.
Great. Our number, once again, Steve, is 626-671-8885. Once again, that's 626-671-8885. Mold Zero.
Raymond, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
See you
Steve.
again next month.
All right. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
We're going to go to break. And when we come back, do you snore? Well, let's stop that right away. We'll be right back with Janet Bennett.
K. Bender Rembaum is a full-service community association law firm dedicated to the representation of community associations throughout Florida. On kbrlegal.com, you can learn more about their offices in Pompano Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, Tampa, as well as throughout Miami-Dade by appointment. Several K. Bender Rembaum attorneys are board-certified specialists in condominium and plan development law and assist clients with all matters of community association legal issues while keeping them up to date on new developments that affect their associations. K. Bender Rembaum is also a well-known provider of free legal education for managers and board members. Contact K. Bender Rembaum today by calling 800-974-0680. That's 800-974-0680 to reach any of their locations. You can also visit them online at kbrlegal.com or write to them at info@kbrlegal.com.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And we are back. Los Angeles, we are glad everybody is okay. You made it through the storm. We here in Florida know exactly what hurricanes are like. I told you our next guest, our expert, is really turning out to be a real expert because I have sleep apnea. And I just found out today some information from my doctor about my sleep apnea. So I am really glad that we have specialists in this. Janet Bennett. Good afternoon, Janet.
Good afternoon. How are you?
There you are. So I got a little story here to tell you. So
Okay.
we're going to talk about Janet's technique today. And I'm going to back out of this because Janet just explains it so well. And my doctor, who I started on Janet's technique. I wear a CPAP machine. Actually, mine's even stronger than that. So I really have bad sleep apnea. And I started trying Janet's technique. And after a week and a half, I did not need my sleep apnea machine. The reason why I knew is I wasn't being woken up from my snoring, which meant I wasn't snoring. So I did a sleep test the other night. I hadn't had one in 4 years. And the doctor said to me that he thinks maybe we should try something stronger. But I said, I'm not having any trouble. And I actually told him some of the steps, the techniques I'm using through Janet. And he's like, these older doctors don't believe in anything new at all. But I got to tell you, I was able to remove my CPAP machine. And if you've ever had to sleep with one on, you know how uncomfortable they are. I am now getting back on the program because I've done my sleep test and everything. And I'm telling you, because I've had sleep apnea for 10 years, I am telling you that Janet's technique is going to allow me, and she never told me to get rid of my CPAP machine, but I'm going to tell you, her machine is going to allow me to get off my machine and sleep like a normal person. So kudos to you, Ms. Bennett.
I'm so proud of you for starting it and hanging in there.
Well, listen, there's some work, but it's not hard work.
Right. I'm going to explain all that. Yeah.
I'm going to turn it over to you because you just do it so beautiful.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. This is the best part of my day when I get to share this. So I'm a speech pathologist and have been for many, many years. And I have been specializing in the treatment of stopping snoring and tongue thrust and swallowing and breathing correctly. All of those things go together. And I want to tell the audience what a tongue thrust is in case you don't know, because you'll hear me talk about it. A tongue thrust is when sometimes if some people will, when they swallow, their tongue pushes the back of their teeth and they might have buck teeth. You've seen people where their teeth are sticking out farther than they should. Or some people have what's called an open bite, and they can't close their teeth because when they swallow, their tongue comes out between their teeth. So those are some bad problems to have. And normally the orthodontist will identify these issues and send them to me so that I can teach them how to swallow a different way so they aren't putting pressure on their teeth. That's the bottom line for that. And so I was treating one day, this was in 2003. I was treating a 14-year-old football player in my office, and I have a 7-week program. I see someone once a week, and they learn different tongue exercises. So when Steve was saying my technique, he was talking about the tongue exercises. And so this guy, his name is Adam, he had been to me for 2 visits. Now he's back for his 3rd visit. His mom came into my office and she said, "Janet, what are you doing to Adam?" And I said, "I don't know. What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, he's always been the loudest snorer in the world. He rattles our windows. And now he's not making a sound." I didn't know anything about snoring, and I was startled. And so I said, "Adam, tell me more. What's going on?" And he said, "Well, I'm doing better in school. I'm able to concentrate better. I'm making better grades, and I run faster." And so to me, to hear that he ran faster got my attention more than snoring did. So I went home when I got home, didn't even have a computer in my office then. But anyway, I researched it and I just knew I was going to find people who snored were learning how to do tongue exercises to stop snoring. I just knew that was there. But no, I was very surprised to find that they want to cut off part of your uvula, that thing that hangs down in the back, or break your jaw and pull it forward so your airway's bigger. or the dentist can make a retainer or a mouthpiece, something like that, to keep your tongue out of your airway. I think last time I told about this one mouthpiece. The dentist made it. It was a big clunky looking thing, and it sits right here, and it has a hole in the middle of it, like a big piece of rubber with a hole in the middle of it, and you had to put your tongue through that hole. So while you're sleeping, you've got this thing in your mouth and your tongue sticking out that hole. So that's, that's not a good way to do that. Anyway, so I didn't find any tongue exercises at all. It was just ridiculous. So I decided I had to save the world. And then I realized I couldn't, not by myself anyway. And so I immediately I wanted to produce an exercise program that was foolproof, just and short, just as short as I could make it, so that the person could feel stop snoring quickly. So I found 86 people all over the United States who would be my guinea pigs. And so I met with them each once a week. We didn't have Zoom then, unfortunately. So we were. I was emailing the lesson each week and talking to them on the phone. And I wanted to make sure that I worded all of the exercises easily so that people could understand them. And so all these 86 people were great, and they helped me word things that were hard to understand. Anyway, when all of it was said and done, 94% of them stopped snoring.
That is amazing.
I know.
Amazing.
So I knew I was onto something. 94% stopped snoring, and nobody had surgery or spent $6,000 on a retainer or anything like that. So, then I made made up the program, and it was available online at correctmytonguethrust.com, or for Los Angeles, it is stopsnoringlosangeles.com. You can go there and read all about it. But so the tongue thrust and snoring go together, because if you are breathing through your mouth and your tongue is sticking out, you lay down to sleep, everything relaxes, your muscles are relaxed, and your tongue is really going to relax, and it will get wider. And if your tongue is extra wide, like a lot of people's tongue is, then it will help open your lips while you're sleeping. And then you're breathing through your mouth and you're snoring, and it's all connected. So when I treat someone's tongue thrust, I also teach them how to breathe through their nose. And when I teach somebody how to stop snoring, they have to learn how to close their lips. And this leads to sleep apnea. So when you snore, let's say you snore along a lot of years and you get louder, you snore, you open your mouth wider, you're snoring, or you get just so loud, it can lead to sleep apnea, which is what Steve has. And this sleep apnea, so the snoring is when your tongue partially, it falls back in your throat and it partially occludes your airway. So hence the noise, that kind of weird snore noise. But when it's sleep apnea, your tongue totally closes off your airway and you stop breathing. And so the significant other in the bed with you is probably watching you stop breathing, and they're seeing you go, probably, trying to get you to wake up. And then a part of your brain, a very special part of your brain, wakes you up and you go, you snort to wake up and get out of it. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who know what I'm talking about. Steve, you used to do that, right?
Janet, I got to tell you something. If a person has never had to use a CPAP machine, they won't understand this. But there are a lot of people out there who are on a CPAP machine. And first I'm going to tell you, Janet has never told me that I'm going to come off my CPAP machine. She has never made me any promises except that she would work with me. And everything she tells you makes so much sense. And I got to tell you, after my first week and a half with Janet, I got to tell you, it was a difference in night and day. And to have to sleep with a CPAP machine, it's the most ungodly way to sleep. That we were not meant to sleep on a machine.
Right, right,
And I'm going to tell you, if you snore, and listen, there's a lot of people out there that snore, Janet, that don't like to admit that they snore.
right. That's
I was
okay.
one of those people. But can you imagine not? Because I know that when I snored, it would wake me up every time.
Right,
You know,
right,
like the athlete, he wasn't running fast, he wasn't making good grades in school. It was because he was always being woken up because you actually stop breathing. And
right,
thank God for
and-
the snore wakes you
right.
up.
And I think the biggest culprit here is the mouth breathing. Okay.
Yes,
So mouth breathing
yes,
causes so many physical problems. And let me just finish with the program, if I may. I have a program that's tongue exercises. It's 7 lessons. You can get this program online and you can start immediately. And the great thing is, I'm going to be there with you through the whole thing. And the way that works is whenever you get your electronic program, you will then get a little package from me, and I can tell you about that. But you'll start doing exercises, and there's a special video that I made where I'm treating an adult male. So you can go to that video and go to lesson 1 or lesson 5, and you can see me showing that man how to do the exercise. So if if reading it doesn't, quite make you feel like you know how to do that exercise, you can watch me do it. Okay. And then you have to commit to doing the exercises 2 times a day. It may only take 15 minutes at a time. Okay. Some of these programs out there want you to spend 3 hours a day doing some kinds of
right,
exercises. This does not take long at all. And the great thing is, now a lot of parents will get this program for their kids too. So the great thing is, I have another video where you go to lesson 1 or lesson 5, and I'm sitting there at my desk, and it's my exercise room. And I'm waiting for you or your child, whoever, to come in, sit down. I will do the exercises for them, and they just have to copy me. If you have to do it 5 times,
right.
I'll do the counting. If you have to time it, I'll do the timing. You don't have the person doing it doesn't have to read anything or no, they don't have to know anything. Just copy me, and that'll get their exercises done. Okay. And then parents love it because they always wonder, am I doing this right or not? I just don't know. So it's, there shouldn't be many questions left unanswered after doing the program, and you can see results pretty quickly, because
Yeah.
mouth breathing can cause a lot of different things, like waking up with a dry mouth, waking up with a sore throat, waking up with a headache. It can cause
I'm
uh,
right
messy sheets.
behind you. I'm there
As,
going,
as a restless
shaking my head.
sleeper,
Yes,
your sheets are all messy when you wake up. I know that
yes.
sounds crazy. You wouldn't think that would have anything to do with it. Another thing that children do, well, adults too. Yeah, everybody who breathes through their mouth when they're chewing food. Now let's think about this. When you're chewing food, your lips should be closed. You probably, growing up, your parents might have said, keep your mouth shut, don't smack your lips
Right.
and all that stuff. But what they didn't know is the reason people have to kind of open their mouth while they're chewing is that they are used to breathing through their mouth. So they can't keep their lips closed very long. They've got to, they've got to get some air in. Okay. But this program trains them how to breathe through their nose, and then they don't have to smack their lips anymore. And parents are just thrilled when that just goes away. Another thing that people wouldn't connect to this is air gulping while they're smacking their lips and taking in air. Um, and sometimes when they're talking, because people who breathe through their mouth, when they talk, they're also breathing through their mouth. So they get a lot of extra air. And that can cause bloating. and stomach issues after you eat.
Ah,
And I was seeing
know
one
that.
kid, a 9-year-old kid, and the mom told me he had never gotten through a whole meal. And I was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, just after a few bites, he's in the bathroom for the rest of the meal." She said, "I've taken him to every specialist I can think of. We just don't know what the problem is, and they just want to give him pills." And she said, "I wasn't going to do that." But anyway, she brought him to me for a tongue thrust, having no idea that she was going to be able that he was going to be able to get fixed for that too. So as soon as maybe 2 weeks into the program, he had learned how to start breathing through his nose. So while he was eating, he was able to keep his lips closed and not take in that air, and his stomach aches went away. Now y'all think about that, what the parent had been
Wow.
through for years, and here they're gone in a couple of weeks because he stopped mouth breathing. There are lots of stories about different ailments and different things that occur, and you just wouldn't associate it with that. Um, a lot of people feel like, and they go to their doctor for this normally, they feel like there's something stuck right here in their throat, and they want to they want to clear their throat, they want to cough,
Sweet.
wash it down with something, and it does go down. And so uh, the doctors, they don't know anything about this. Okay, they don't understand about swallowing. They don't understand that you have to have a certain kind of swallow. Your tongue has to start in a certain place in your mouth to make a good, strong swallow. And so they have come up with the term globus sensation, which can mean it's all in your head. Okay,
Mhm.
because they can't find anything wrong. They'll look at the chords, they'll see, there's nothing wrong. They normally call it hoarseness and send them to me for hoarseness. And the person may not be hoarse, but at least it gets them in front of me. And then I find out that they aren't swallowing right. When they start swallowing, their tongue isn't pushing off the roof of their mouth. It's pushing against the back of their teeth, or any several different places. And what happens is that causes a weak swallow. They don't have anything strong to push off against. So when they're chewing food, they start swallowing, and it's a slow swallow, and there's not enough oomph behind it to make sure the food goes straight down. So we've got these two little notches in here. I call them chairs, so that when the food's going by, if it's slowly going by, some little crumbs can get stuck. And that's what they feel. It's true. There really is something stuck there, ever so slightly, so small, but it's true. And so this fixes that problem also.
Janet, by the time you get a lot of your patients, they probably have tried a lot of different things like I did. And you get all excited, you put the tape on the nose, and it doesn't work. And it's such a letdown.
I know.
Your program works. I
I know.
know for a fact
I
that it
know.
works. And I think that by the time you finally get the patient, they've tried so many things that didn't work. It's got to be tough to get them to try new things and let them know that this could work for them.
Right. Well, surprisingly enough, Steve, I haven't had a lot of patients who have tried a whole lot of different things because they are still
Oh,
denying that they snore.
yes,
You know, it
that's
usually
right.
takes the spouse or significant other and me together with that
Yes,
person telling him, yes, he snores. It's a social stigma. I'm sure of it. I've
yes.
said before, when I was growing up, I was at my granny's house a lot, and my granddaddy was way across the room in his lounge chair, and he was always snoring so loudly. I mean, all day. If he wasn't fishing, he was home snoring. And the grandkids would say, "Oh, look at grandpa. He's sleeping so good. But no, he wasn't sleeping at all, because whenever you breathe through your mouth, this is real important. You cannot get into REM sleep, REM. You cannot get there if you're breathing through your mouth.
Right.
That should be enough to know and to believe that you are not getting good sleep. Okay. And I think so many people at the adult stage, they've been doing that for years and they have forgotten what it feels like when they wake up to feel rested, truly rested. They wake up, and my telltale question for them is, when you wake up in the morning, do you wish you could just sleep for 5 more minutes? And they're, yes, just give me 5 more minutes. That tells me immediately
That's exactly right.
that they're mouth breathers, and they're habitual mouth breathers, and that I can fix it. And that's why I love my job.
And sleep apnea is very dangerous. I don't
Right.
think we emphasize that enough.
Right.
For your health, it's extremely dangerous. And
Right.
let's give everybody your phone number and your
Okay.
website, Janet.
Okay. It's stopsnoringlosangeles.com for those in Los Angeles. For everybody else, you can go to author, AUTHOR, because I wrote the book, author at IJustWantToSleep.com. Y'all can remember that. I just want to sleep. IJustWantToSleep.com. So the phone number is 828-273-9888. And tell your friends about it. Call me, email me, ask me questions. I will answer any question that I can. And if I can't, I'll find out what the answer is. We can talk before you decide, to help you decide whether or not this program is for you. And there's a 60-day money back guarantee, so you can't beat that.
Yeah, you're the best. I love you.
Thank you.
Janet's with us every month, and we'll see you again next month for Los Angeles, Janet.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Janet Bennett. I'm telling you, she doesn't know this. She's saving my life. She really is. We've run out of time here. We will be back with you next Tuesday at 2:00 Pacific time. Thank you, Rebel. Great job as always. Hey, we'll see you guys soon. God bless.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.